Hey Disney Cruisers, and welcome back to the DCL community where we are here to help you plan, prepare for, and get excited about your Disney cruise. We are so excited tonight to be talking about what a kind of a new addition to the Disney Cruise Line family, a new port, and so many people have so many questions about it. So we're excited to talk through tonight. As you guys are coming in, let us know where you're watching from so we can say hello. But let us know if you have a cruise booked out of this new port or if you're thinking about it. But as people are coming in, Chrissy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to be chatting about this cruise port. I'm Chrissy O'Kane with Academy Travel. I'm one of the recommended agents with DCL community. I love connecting with this group. It's such a fun, collaborative community, and Rebecca's just great, you guys. So I'm so pumped to talk about Fort Lauderdale as, like Rebecca said, kind of a new addition to the DCL family as the fleet is growing. More home ports need to be added in order to have a place for everybody. And I know we've been a little bit bummed with some of the 2024 announcements that there's no San Diego, there's no New York, but there is Fort Lauderdale, and it brings some really cool things. So I'm just so excited to talk about that. I love cruising out of Fort Lauderdale. And before you guys get at me, they've never sailed there yet. No, they haven't. But Fort Lauderdale Cruise Port is not new.
Yeah.
So I've sailed out of Fort Lauderdale many times on Royal, Celebrity, Princess. It's a great cruise port to sail out of. And the fact that it's opening brings lots of new opportunities for Disney Cruise Line fans.
Yes. And Chrissy, as you guys can tell, is the queen of cruising. So please reach out to her if you have any questions. If you're trying to plan a Disney cruise and trying to figure out if it's worth it for your family to fly out of or travel out of Port Canaveral or Fort Lauderdale or any of the other Disney Cruise Line ports, her planning services are totally free for you to use. So let her be that resource to help you in your planning. But we are going to get into all of the really fun stuff about Fort Lauderdale. And like we said, if you have any questions, put those in the comments and we will do our best to get to all of them. But let's dive in Fort Lauderdale. I'm so excited.
Yay! Fort Lauderdale Sailings 101. Well, we also did the same presentation, but for Port Canaveral a couple months ago. So I'm sure Rebecca will link that video as well. It's a fun one. And
Yes.
if you're looking for Galveston or Miami or New York, comment other ports that you'd like to see the same kind of 101 tutorial for, and I'll be sure to put that together for you guys sometime in the future.
Oh, I love that. And I will grab that link to the Port Canaveral one and put that in the comments as we're chatting.
All righty. So sailings start in November, which is, gosh, just like it seems like so far away, but no, it's in 3 months. Oh my goodness! Wow, it's already almost fall. School's starting. It's happening. So the first sailings will start in November on the Dream out of Fort Lauderdale. And then the Magic will kind of take over for the summer sailing. So it'll be kind of the Dream and the Magic at this point alternating sailing out of Fort Lauderdale. And here's the thing, guys, we need to like embrace Fort Lauderdale here because this is a 15-year contract that Disney Cruise Line has signed with Port Everglades, which is the official name of the Fort Lauderdale Cruise Terminal. So that means that really cool things are going to happen out of this port. It would not surprise me if once the fleet is full at 7 ships that we have more than one ship sailing out of Port Canaveral, maybe not there docked at the same time, but like all kinds of room for growth here at this terminal. And what else is really cool out of the Port Everglades terminal is that it's kind of like, and this is just my own personal idea, like I don't think anybody at Disney Cruise Line would use this term, but it's like an experiment port. Like they're trying different things. There's a bunch of different sailing lengths. It's not like Port Canaveral, where it's like 7 nights on one ship, 3 and 4 nights on the other ship, and that is what you get, right? With Port Everglades, we're seeing 3 nights, 4 nights, 5 nights, a transatlantic, all kinds of like really cool things. So that really brings me to my next slide, which is Chrissy's coolest sailings.
Yeah, and as we're pulling that slide up, I know that Disney Cruise Line announced that it's not going to be like some of their other ports where they're just kind of going and adding a few banners up here and there. They're really giving this port the full like Port Canaveral makeover.
Exactly. They're building a home terminal. They're invested. They're gonna be here. So we'll see what that means for other ports, Miami, New York, San Diego. But I really think that we got to embrace Fort Lauderdale as part of the love. Disney's committed. They're gonna be there for a long time, and they're doing cool things out of Port Everglades. So I'm excited. So like I mentioned, the majority of the sailings are 3, 4, and 5 nights. So I went through and I picked my top favorite for each of those links. And I'll be honest, this 5-night, that is really, I think, the meat of the Fort Lauderdale cruise port. These sailings are offered pretty much year round, and also with a Halloween on the high seas overlay, and also a very maritime overlay with the same itinerary. And honestly, if you're looking to sail something really, really great Disney Cruise Line value, this is where it's at. The 5-night with 3 port stops. For those of you in the cruise world on like all cruise lines, a 5-night itinerary with 3 port stops is amazing, right? Most 5 nights stop twice. So looking at a 5-night itinerary, 3 port stops, and 2 different private islands. So this does Castaway and Lighthouse Point. And it also goes to Nassau. Great itinerary, experience the best of what Disney has to offer on board, because you have also a sea day in the mix too. Both private islands. And then your Nassau stop, you can be really flexible with. You can stay on the ship, always an option. You can also get off the ship and do something that's not beachy, because you've got 2 perfect beach days, right? So really looking at those like city tours, walking tours, work with your agent to book something outside of DCL. I'm booking a lot of Nassau Segway tours, Nassau by like e-scooters, really bike tours through like so they're really cool things that we can book in Nassau, a little bit off the beaten path, since you've already got a really nice perfect beach day. Or if you love beaching, do it again. Do Blue Lagoon, do Pearl Island, do Balmoral. So many great options there in Nassau. And you know, you could also maybe stretch your budget a little bit in Nassau and do that Atlantis stop, because you have these 2 port days that are at Disney's private island, where budget can be much lower and still have an amazing beach experience. So I love those 5-night sailings. And like I said, it's not just one of them. They're pretty much all year round happening. Really cool sailings.
Love it. Oh, that's such good perspective on those too, and how to kind of get the most value out of it. If you guys need any advice on cruising within your budget, Chrissy is, I know I call her the queen of cruising already. I'm going to give her another queen title, and that is maximizing your time on these cruises, whether it's a 14-night or a 3-night. She knows how to make the most out of it. So reach out to her.
That's sweet.
I'm learning with you guys right now. So I'm like, I should go to Fort Lauderdale. This is great.
Yeah, it's a great port. And then for those 4-night itineraries, these basically, again, they're pretty much all year round. And they're going to alternate between, they're all going to go to Nassau, and then that other port will alternate between Lighthouse Point and Castaway. And so you can pick or choose. And since it's offered kind of like all the time, I would do one of these Halloween ones or one of those Christmas ones. That's just my opinion on it. You know, try something new, visit the new, new private island at Lighthouse Point, sail out of a new terminal, just all the new things, right? Do it all new, right?
Yeah.
And then for this 3-night, there are some regular just 3-night stop at Lighthouse Point and come back itineraries. But the best 3-night itinerary, I think, is this one. It goes one way. So you can use this a lot of different ways. It sails out of Fort Lauderdale and it ends in San Juan and Puerto Rico. And you can use this as the start to an amazing Puerto Rico land-based vacation. Great options there. Or you can, this is on the Magic and it's in November. And you can follow this up with a 7-night Southern Caribbean out of San Juan on the Magic, and now you've created a 10-night sailing. Or you can even add the following sailing, which is I think a 4 or 5-night, and it's going to end in Galveston. And so you would like fly to Fort Lauderdale, cruise to San Juan, cruise Southern Caribbean, cruise from San Juan to Galveston, and then fly back, right? So this is a really great option. Anybody in the like central southern United States, where both Fort Lauderdale and Galveston are not that far of flights, right? Like Rebecca, you can make this happen, you know?
Listen, you're selling me on it. I'm like, that sounds like my ideal vacation. Just cruise to cruise.
Create your own 2-week vacation that's not a transatlantic. So it's got tons of stops, right? You're at port a lot. And on the Magic, lots and lots of fun. I see we have a couple questions before we go to the next slide.
Yeah.
So I'll hit at that. So will these terminal upgrades be completed in November? No. The terminal is going to be open, and they will be sailing out of like And then the next question is Fort Lauderdale will officially be open when? So Fort Lauderdale Cruise Port, it's open, it's sailing. Like you can sail out of Fort Lauderdale, just not with Disney Cruise Line. They are invested in building their own a special terminal, but right now they will be sailing out of, like, I think this says Terminal 4, but just out of a generic terminal that all cruise lines are able to use for the immediate needs and the long-term investment. I don't think we have an opening date, official opening date. It's still in the kind of bids on construction process right now.
Yeah, I do know that Disney is very interested in expediting that to get their own home port, right? Disney would love to own that, but it has not been announced yet. So stay tuned. We will share that in the group when we know.
But it's no different than sailing out of Miami or San Diego, right? It's not a Disney-owned terminal, but it's still, the Disney ship is there, still fun Disney staff. Will they have any of the cute Disney stuff on board? Yes. In terminal, not as much, but on board, all the Disney stuff.
You'll still have some signage that's, removable because it's not their port, and you'll still have really friendly Disney crew and cast members who are there with their Mickey hands waving. And so they make these experiences, and Chrissy, you probably know it best sailing out of ports with Disney from all over the place, but they make all their ports feel as Disney as possible.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. They'll make it as magical as possible. It's just like Rebecca said, it won't be quite permanent. So lots of cool stuff. All right. And then my bonus slide. So there is a eastbound transatlantic sailing out of Fort Lauderdale. And this is a 13-night. It prices out about half the price per night as the 5-night sailing. So if you can kind of think about that way. There's always the benefit, those transatlantics, they do have a higher initial price point because they're 13 nights, but the price per night is significantly less. So the value is very strong, especially if you love onboard entertainment. But this is a great itinerary. A lot of transatlantics, especially the ones that Chrissy's struggling.
It's been a long day.
Yeah. The ones that sailed out of New York would do like New York, and then they'd go straight across that Atlantic and do one stop usually one stop in Portugal, and then you're off in Barcelona, right? Disney has very strong transatlantic sailings. You are going to be at sea for a solid 8 days. And then you've got amazing itinerary coming up with how many? I can't count. It's 6 stops. 6. That's incredible, right? Really fun itinerary. See 2 stops in Portugal, 4 in Spain. Barcelona technically is a disembarkation port, but it's still a city to get to explore, right?
Yeah.
And then sure, if you're not done, add a Mediterranean sailing from there if you want to. It's a long time, but you could do it.
And are you able to help if people are like, okay, all of these sound great, but I don't know which one might be best for me and my family? Are you able to kind of piece some of these things together and help people do that planning?
Absolutely. So I typically start all new clients. I did have one client email me today that's like, this is the sailing that I want and this is the room that I want. But you guys, that's my job. Like, don't take my job away from me. Message me just to get started. And I like to start all of my clients with an initial consult to really get to know you and your family, right? You don't have to know Disney Cruise Line. That's my job, right? Talk to me about you. I'll ask you questions like your favorite activities to do at home. What kind of things do you like to do on other vacations? What are your favorite restaurants? What's everybody's favorite Disney characters, so that we can really determine the best ship for you, because there are differences in onboard entertainment, especially character-based, right? Like if you are a Beauty and the Beast fan, we need to start talking about the Dream. All kinds of different little things to really consider to get you on the best ship for you, especially if this is your first Disney cruise. And then also let's look at length of sailing. How long do you really want to be away from home for? How can we make this the most use of your time? If you're doing a short sailing, we'll talk about it in the upcoming slides of where to stay to kind of extend your vacation and turn it into a longer vacation, even though it's a shorter cruise portion. Lots of fun options. I love the consultation part. Prior to booking, we'll really get to know each other well.
Yeah, I was going to say, Chrissy will become your friend in this. That is a guarantee. Oh, I love it. Okay, how to get there?
So this is a fun one with Fort Lauderdale and with Miami. Really, most clients want to fly into FLL, which is Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. It's only about 15 minutes from the cruise port. There are lots of hotels in the area with airport hotel shuttles. And then for hotel to cruise port shuttles, we'll talk about that in the upcoming slide. Not as many, but there are some, and it's a very manageable experience. Or you could book through a service like GoPort or something like that. The other option is you can fly into Miami, and this is a little bit less practical, just because it's about 40 minutes away, but it's about the same as when you're flying to MCO to get to Port Canaveral. Like it's definitely manageable, but you do just have to factor in that you've got that about hour-long transportation portion in between the airport and the cruise ship to keep that in mind. But a lot of people, even when you factor in that ground transportation cost, it can still be cheaper just because Miami has so many flights coming in and out of it, especially if you're an international guest. While Fort Lauderdale Airport is technically international, Miami is a major international hub for the United States. So a lot of international flights will go to Miami, and so there's just a lot of options there. And so it's totally doable. Absolutely. You can fly into Miami for a Fort Lauderdale cruise and work with your agent on where to stay to get you to the port the next day. Absolutely fine the night before, always.
Can you help with flights too?
Yes and no. I don't book flights directly, so I won't be like booking you through United, but we can add flights through Disney Cruise Line. And we can also, for all of my clients, I will set a Google Flight Alert and email you when prices drop within a margin of that you would like. And then once your flights are booked, I do recommend that you book either through Disney Cruise Line or book through the airline directly. Don't book through a third-party consolidator. Like Expedia or Cheapo Air or things like that. Once your flight is booked, I'll have you send me over that confirmation, and I'll track it for any delays, anything like that. And then we'll also work with you on booking hotel for the night before, whether that's through Disney Cruise Line or I can book it directly.
Yeah, I'm just remembering when all those floods were happening in Florida a couple months back. You were coordinating with your clients everywhere, trying to get them moved from one airport to another. Oh my gosh, that's why having a travel reason number 575 that having a travel agent is great. Now, do you recommend flying in the day of, the day before, 2 days before? How far in advance?
So I absolutely recommend flying the day before. And personally, I like to fly, I like to be on the first flight out in the morning, the day before my cruise. That way, if my flight is delayed, I'm not that worried about it at all. When you're looking at an evening flight, you can start to get scary. So I have clients that were supposed to arrive at Disney World yesterday, and they were flying in the night before. They weren't planning on going to the parks until the next day, and then their flight was delayed, but it was delayed to the next day, right? So in a cruise, that doesn't help you. So the airline technically didn't cancel, they just delayed them, but they delayed them from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. And that, would be cutting it very, very close for a cruise, right? So I like to fly the morning of the day before my cruise, or several days before, and have a nice beach vacation in Fort Lauderdale. And then when I get off the ship, if you're flying out of Fort Lauderdale, then I would book a flight no earlier than noon. If you're flying out of Miami, I would book a flight no earlier than 1 p.m.
Love that. That's great advice. And we're getting a question. Is there a reason you're saying you don't book on a third party and just book directly with the airlines?
Yeah. So if you book through like Expedia, Travelocity, Orbitz, those kind of things, what's technically happening is that you are just paying Expedia, and then Expedia is following through on that booking for you. And so if there is a change in flights, it'll get communicated directly to that third party provider. So you might not even get notified. I've had people show up to the airport and they didn't even know that their flight was changed. And so you really just need to make sure that you're booking directly through the airline for the most, up-to-date communication, and also so that should something happen at the gate agent is able to help you right there. No need to back and forth through, Expedia or Travelocity or those kind of things.
Yeah. And something else to keep in mind, I know at one point I had booked flights through one of these sites, and their terms of cancellation and changing was not the same as that of the airline. Mm-hmm. The airline would have let me reschedule with no penalties, and they did not. So just make sure you're reading that fine print, because this is it's another company that you're involving. And I think it's a great way to kind of build up some of those points. People are always asking how to save money on travel, and building up points, whether it's through credit card points or however you're doing it, and being able to take advantage of those directly with the airline is a great thing to do. Some agencies will book flights, but that's personal preference. Mm-hmm. But definitely do not fly in the day before if you can, or the day of if you can.
The morning of, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So then once you're within Fort Lauderdale, now what am I going to do? Right. So DCL does have ground transfers from Fort Lauderdale Airport. So what does that mean? Well, and also one hotel, and I'll get to that too. So if you are booking a hotel with an airport shuttle, great, take the shuttle back to the airport in the morning. Easy peasy. And now you can book the DCL transfer. And the reason that many of my clients do this is for little ones, right? Now you don't have to worry about car seats. You don't have to worry about, safety restrictions in the car, about, random drivers through Lyft, right? When it's just me and my husband cruising, we just use Lyft. It's easier. I'm totally good with it. A lot of the hotels, the Fort Lauderdale cruise port and the airport and all the hotels, like, it's not quite within sight distance, but like pretty close, right? Like, and you can see the ocean, you know where you're going. So you'll know if your driver's lost, you'll be able to reroute, no problem. So I personally just use Lyft, but if I am traveling with a big group or with littles, the DCL ground transfer is the way to go. Now, Fort Lauderdale is a new cruise port for Disney Cruise Line. As of right now, the only hotel that Disney Cruise Line is contracting through is the Hilton Fort Lauderdale Marina. So if you book there, whether you book through Disney Cruise Line or you book it directly, which right now I am actually seeing better rates booking the hotel directly than through Disney Cruise Line. So just, especially if you're a Hilton Honors member and things like, there's just a lot of special deals, AAA rates, AARP rates, senior rates, all kinds of things that you can look into. And then also a greater variety of room selection too, if you're looking for a suite or things like that. But even if you book the hotel directly, not through Disney Cruise Line, you can still add the DCL ground transfer from the Hilton Fort Lauderdale Marina or Fort Lauderdale Airport. The other options, any hotel, shuttle back to the airport or just get a lift back to the airport in the morning and then take DCL ground transfer. And then you can also use GoPort, which I do highly recommend. They're a great kind of like bundle it all. So you get your airport, your shuttle airport to hotel, your hotel night, and your shuttle from the hotel to the cruise port in the morning. And then you'll be, good to go. All of that will be bundled up.
Awesome. And do you know, are the Disney Cruise Line buses going to be part of the ground transfers at Disney, or have they not announced that yet?
They haven't announced exactly what it'll look like. Most likely it will be not the DCL branded bus that we see at Port Canaveral. It'll be a standard, kind of transfer shuttle brand. Got it.
Good to know. Okay, where are we staying?
So these are my top 3 for me personally. Like I've mentioned before, I usually arrive just the night before, and we're a party of all adults. And I have this on a PDF that I can send out to all of these hotels. I have the Hilton Fort Lauderdale Marina, which you can book directly or through Disney Cruise Line right now. The Hyatt Place Fort Lauderdale, and also the Embassy Suites by Hilton. And I love that one, especially if I'm traveling with my in-laws. It's really nice to just have some space. Was that it? I think that was the whole thing. So.
Oh man. Okay. Sorry guys. I will get back to it.
No worries. Okay. But they all have an airport shuttle included, and then they do have a cruise port shuttle, and it's just an additional charge in the mornings. The hotel that I've used many times for other cruise lines that has like a free airport shuttle and a free cruise shuttle is the Roadway Inn. And I'll be really honest, it's a great hotel for people looking to just sleep. And that's it. It's not the most family friendly. It's not the highest, in luxury. It's just a place to sleep. And if it's that, then it works really well. I love these 3 because they're convenient to the airport. They've got a great, airport shuttle system already established, really always consistent. And the amenities inside are also always consistent. So that's a fun option. But if you are looking to have a more of a resort feel, there is a Margaritaville in the area. There are several really nice kind of beachy resort areas in there too. And then there's also the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino there too, which, that's one of the first, things that I talk to clients that are familiar with other cruise lines like Royal Caribbean and Carnival, that there's no casino on board Disney Cruise Line. So if you're looking for that experience, you could, casino it up before you get on the cruise.
Yeah.
And have a very luxury hotel experience before you set sail.
Love that. And those are great recommendations kind of across the board. I know we love Embassy Suites for that breakfast and included breakfast. There's nothing like a fresh made omelet in the morning before your cruise. Oh my gosh. But these are great. And if you guys want a copy, I know that on the screen, the font might be a little small.
Tiny, sorry.
No, oh my gosh, no, this is a great way for people to reach out to you. And I'll put that link on screen again if you guys want to grab that. And then I'll put it in the comments as well so you guys can grab that too. Let's talk about things to do at the port.
So there's lots of really neat activities. Fort Lauderdale is very much a beachy town. There's great fishing tours that I've done. There's a helicopter tour that's really cool, and it goes like through that awesome. The Hard Rock Hotel is shaped like a guitar, and it goes like through the guitar when you're on the helicopter tour. It's really neat.
I've seen the commercials for that place.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I know, yeah. And then it's also near Everglades National Park. Is a great, easy one-day trip, kind of like not really hiking, but like walking, touring, national park experience. Lots of fun. And then there's great shopping areas I'm not going to say right. It's like Las Ollas Mall. And just there, it's a fun city to explore. I personally wouldn't do more than like 2 or 3 days. It's not like a beachy Miami destination where you could find like a whole week's worth of activities and then get on the ship. But if you're doing a 3 or 4 night and you want to turn that into a week-long vacation, you can absolutely find fun activities for about 2 or 3 days beforehand.
And what if my family also wants to do Walt Disney World after a cruise out of Fort Lauderdale? Is that something that we can piece together?
It is something that we can piece together. It does take a little bit more finagling because you do need to look at that transportation from Fort Lauderdale up to Orlando. But there are options. You have the Brightline train as an option. You have the you can fly, or you can rent a car, or if you're driving, you can drive yourself, obviously, as well. So there are a lot of options, but we do need to keep in mind that you are looking at about 4 hours of a drive or train ride as well.
Okay, so that might be a good place to stop on the way back up if you live up north and you're driving.
Yeah.
I give so much credit to anybody who's driving to port. My bladder is way too small to be in a car for any extended amount of time. So I give you drivers lots of credit.
You just need an electric car, so you have to stop like every hour and a half to charge anyway.
Exactly. Yes.
Which is fine.
Oh, well, this has been so awesome. Any other tips for anyone traveling out of Fort Lauderdale?
Really, just it's something that I think when I talk to a lot of people, they are not even considering Fort Lauderdale, right? It's like Orlando or Miami if we're looking at Florida cruises. So my first tip is to not rule it out, right? Like it's a great option, especially if you're really looking to cruise and you're not necessarily looking to have an extended vacation with it. If you want to be on an awesome cruise, that 5-night out of Fort Lauderdale is such a great value. It's a great itinerary.
Yeah.
And then the other one too is to just really, as this port grows, to just keep up to date, have your agent book with an agent so that you can always take advantage of new opportunities, right? So more hotels will probably be added into that mix. The terminal eventually will be built and eventually open, and that's going to be really neat. So there's going to be lots more happening out of Fort Lauderdale in the years to come. I'm excited to see what Disney Cruise Line does.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I agree. And the cruises that we talked through before, like those 3, 4, and 5 nights, those still have openings on them.
Oh, absolutely. Right? Yeah.
Okay. So if you guys are watching and you are interested in booking one of these cruises, reach out to Chrissy. That's the link on the screen with where to find her. And she can help talk through what those options look like for you and your family and help customize some recommendations specifically for you guys. But I love this. I always learn so much from you. If you guys, I love Chrissy's idea. If you guys have any other ports that you would like us to do this for, let us know in the comments so that we can add it to the docket. But thank you guys all so much for watching. Thank you so much, Chrissy, for joining us and putting all this together. And we will see all of you on board. Bye, all.
Bye, guys.